don't want you to pay those bills.
No.
What this change order is about is that the foundation would be dealing with this.
You don't.
You know, Nathan, we came up with this idea of an ad hoc committee, and I don't know, maybe I have too much faith in it, but I think a lot of this stuff that's going on will be answered by them.
I don't think the ad hoc committee will be addressing this particular issue at all. This has nothing to do with the relationship between the city and
that
the
was one
government.
of the red flags that the
Well, and that may be the case, and I know nothing about that. Just as the project manager for this project, I just wanted to make the trustees aware that this is the issue we're trying to deal with, is the simplification of the billing and proceeding with this particular project, so that we can address our contractors in a timely fashion.
Maybe you could answer one of my questions. This has been quite a number of years ago, but I seem to remember when I first learned about this grant, and I believe it is a grant. The person, when I inquired into it, see, I was trying to get some crossings paved and so forth, get some improvements made in the city of Ely.
Sure.
And I was told by people with the state that the person I would have to talk with would be the city engineer, because this grant was being handled through the city engineer.
Well, I'll be honest, Marty,
Is that still true? Or?
It's not currently, and I'll be honest, this grant has been going on long before I ever joined the crew at the foundation there. In fact, we've, through the state, been through about 5 different points of contact, whether they've retired or been promoted, and so currently this is what the situation is. We've hired an engineering firm who has...
That's HDR?
HDR.
Okay.
They're proceeding with plans at the moment. We had the notice to proceed with the plans. And this was just, this was a billing issue that came up with the most recent person that we have contact with at NDOT, whose name is Dean Morgan. And he's only been on here for about, I want to say about 3 months.
Okay.
And this was an issue he wanted to see either nailed down one way or the other.
Are they insisting that this money be paid to the foundation instead of the city?
They're not insisting one way or the other. We brought up the issues of, okay, this is what was agreed to before you showed up on the scene, was that the city would be using their DUNS number and their facilities to process the invoice requests. And those would be as supported by the information we give them and the information and invoices we get from the contractor. And then they would submit that to the state, and the state would turn around and deal with your people at the city, who would then deal with us, and then the money would eventually, you know, in bureaucratic, geological time, make its way the rounds and end up in the contractor's pocket, hopefully. He asked why that was the case, and after discussing with him the issue about the loans which had been paid off, it was his suggestion that possibly this could be a better scenario moving forward. And when asking him about what that would take, he said we'd have to do a change order, and he sent the information out. And that was from him just knowing how long the state, because the federal government is also involved with this, so they have a number of bureaucracies on there, and they have to deal with, in addition to the environmental departments of both the Federal Highway Administration and the Nevada Department of Transportation, so on and so forth. So.
Well, on a purely personal note, I have followed this since we got that grant. And it made me feel very nice to have the city get that check and write it back to the power companies. I was very appreciative of what Richard Sears was able to do to get them to forgive the 5% penalty.
Well, just being able to get that money to pay that is miraculous in and of itself.
It is.
After, what, 4 more years?
But there was no appreciable delay in getting that done.
Sure. Well, mostly because the supporting documentation for something like that is much simpler than our counting the number of ties, the number of bolts, and the progress billing and all of that. This was, by comparison, a much more simpler type of invoice to deal with.
I understand that. But I still appreciate the speed with which the city satisfied that obligation once we got the money. And I think we would be able to do that with any bill we receive.
action. Any motions? Other comments? Or discussion?
Quash this again, because then we would basically do what Marty was saying, which is continue on the way we are.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to quash it. Any more comments? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, White Pine Historical Railroad Foundation Management Board Chairman John Giannoli. Discussion for possible action, consideration to direct the Executive Director to apply for a Tiger Grant to rehabilitate Nevada Northern Railway from Shafter MP 18.5 to Keystone MP 146.5 and the McGill branch from McGill Junction MP 128.5 to McGill Depot MP 3.9.
Okay, Tiger grants, that's another term we've seen to live with an inordinate period of time. The railroad has made at least one, if not multiple, efforts to get a Tiger grant, which is a federal transportation-related grant. Last year, I think we put in a really excellent package. We got a real good grant writer to prepare it. Senator Reed was kind enough to open the window temporarily. It was a rush thing, and I think about 40 days to get this application to be accomplished. Through our contacts with Mr. Reed's office, we knew we were in the final cut. We were close. And when the final decision was made, we came up a little bit short. I think there was one entity in the state of Nevada, paving project somewhere around Pyramid Lake was the only thing that was successful in the state of Nevada, so I understand it. There is another round of Tiger grants that are coming out now. I believe that's number 6. As we speak, Mr. Bassett is participating in Railroad Days on Capitol Hill. He goes back there with some short-line people, and they work on what they call a 46G grant. And in conjunction with those visitations, he's been working towards getting something done regarding the Tiger grant. He has spoken, and when I spoke to him earlier, he's spoken to Mr. Reeves, number 2 person, to Congressman Heller and Horford, and he had 3 more, Amadei Titus, and Heck is the last one. Yeah, that was on their schedule for this afternoon. So he's making some very good progress there. What we would like on this agenda item is obviously due to your involvement, we would like you to endorse our pursuit of the Tiger grant. Say yes, it's okay. That would be the first item. The second item probably requires a little bit of clarification. When we applied last year, we applied in conjunction with the city of Ely. And nothing disparaging about the city or that effort, but it was apparent with the results of the last go-round of the Tiger grant that the people that were successful were generally tied to a statewide transportation entity. And so Mr. Bassett went in Carson City last week in conjunction with the HDR engineering firm, went to visit the Nevada Department of Transportation people. They got in to see the number 2 man and discussed this issue of whether or not they would be willing to partner with the railroad in this effort to get this Tiger money to upgrade the line. They got a very positive response from most people that they thought it was a good deal and it was something that they would get behind. Now, of course, we don't have that on paper. So I bring that up only because I want to know that's the direction we're attempting to go in. If for some reason that should be unsuccessful, partnering with the NDOT, then of course we would go and partner locally with the city again and make that effort in this go around. And we've got a real good chance of getting us about $16 million. Go a long ways towards getting that line opened up. So basically, we're asking for two things: A, that you authorize us doing it, and secondly, that you write a letter of support, which is the same thing you did with the last go round.
Did you want to suggest also that we partner in with you in the event that NDOT fails to do so?
If NDOT doesn't play out, that's the direction we'll be going in, absolutely.
It does sound like a good plan, though, to get a larger entity involved with it.
Well, that seemed to be, looking at the results of the last go-round, that seemed to be a common thread. The people that were successful, that they partnered up with somebody such as the Nevada Department, or that was a common successful ploy. So clearly, we want to do everything we can to get this thing through and successful, to get line opened up.
And I have some time if I promise to be as fast as possible.
You can have some time anyway.
John, I hope you realize there's nobody in this town that wants that line open more than I do. I happen to know a few things about our applications based on conversations that I've had with other railroaders and other people that have applied for these grants. Before I go any further, I'm going to say that I think what we should do with this is we should pool our resources with the county. Jim Garza has a lot of contacts and has done a lot of work toward obtaining tiger grants in the past. And I think it's high time we have a meeting of the Railroad Enterprise Fund and really put some railroading experience into this decision. And I would like to very quickly read a short letter, because I think what it does is it illustrates one of the main fallacies that we have. And despite what anyone here may say, there is a real problem with the line that we have right now. And it is remiss if we do not address it and simply set about to fix the problem. The problem is the rail is too light. And for us to ask for money to work on it is not realistic. The proposal gets laughed out of the room. I think it would be much better to actually apply for enough money to lay heavy rail. Certainly there needs to be some work done with ballast. There needs to be some work done with ties. But no matter how much work you do with rail, with ties and ballast, you're still going to have rail that's too light. And I want to quickly read a letter. I have to give you a bit of history. There's some people in this room that remember Brad Lester when he was our track foreman. And this is from about 2 years ago, February of 2012. He wrote a letter to a man named John Zuspan, who came here and did some consulting for us. This is brief and interesting. This is from Brad Lester to John. Hi, John. It's been a while since we last talked. I'm back in the D.C. area. I'm still a volunteer at the museum whenever I get a chance to get back to Nevada. I had you come to the Nevada Northern Railway Museum back in 2007. I have two reasons to contact you. Number one, I wanted to find out if the museum paid for your services. I know that you had invoiced us, I believe, and so I am curious to know if they followed through. Two, the management of the museum still thinks they can run modern 100-ton hopper cars from the copper mine near Ely to a connection on the UP shaft of Nevada, 100 miles or so, and do it on 60-pound rail. What is your opinion of this? The rail was mostly rolled around 1906. Do you think these guys are clueless? Thank you. I would love to hear your opinion. Brad Lester. John responded back. Good to hear from you. Yes, I got paid. It took a while. 60-pound rail rolled in 1906 with 100-ton hoppers, with 100-ton hoppers is a disaster waiting to happen. It will snap all over the place. The only chance they have is if all the ties are new and the track is tamped tight. Tie spacing should be no more than 20 inches on center. If one or two ties in a row allow the rail to deflect more than half an inch, it will exceed the bending stress of the rail. I saw this very condition in a yard They had joint bars all over the place because it snapped. I even saw some 4-foot pieces of rail. Yes, they are clueless. I just hope no one gets hurt. Take care, John Zusman, Track Guy Consultants. I'm going to give that. I think what is happening here is we're not bringing proper professional opinions into the picture. We're going out and we're asking for something that will only do part of a job. I think it's time to take the bull by the horns and do this properly. Put together an enterprise fund meeting, decide what needs to be done to actually have a viable railroad, and then ask for the money to do that.
Well, I appreciate your opinion, Marty, and I'm not going to question anything that you said. I'm not someone, an engineer that understands the rails and the ties or walk the line or anything else. I know BHP moved with proper restrictions on speed that seem to be plausible. Your concerns, I think those can be addressed. The only thing that I would suggest is whatever we do, we need to move quickly. This window is not going to be open with the Tiger grant for long. I think probably a few months is the correct period of time. So if I personally have no problem if there are people that have knowledge as to how this should be done. It's what we want is we want it done right. So I don't argue with anything you said. I'd say we need to get it going, we need to get it done well. I think we have, the other issue would be that we have a really good grant writer in place out of Washington State who was successful in getting similar grant here before last on a line with Washington State. She apparently knows exactly what she's doing, and that's what it's all about with these grants. It's the right catchphrases, it's how you present these. I think that along with Carl Marsh's connections, I think we have a really excellent opportunity to get something done here, but I believe it needs to be done properly.
Marty, do you have any idea how much that would cost in addition to what we're looking at?
I haven't checked recently. It would cost a lot more than $16 million.
That's what I'm thinking.
I can certainly come up with some numbers, but that would be better answered by other people, and I think it's high time. I can't remember the last time we had an enterprise fund meeting. In fact, I think we probably still have a joint development agreement in place. LS Power, I don't think, has ever abandoned their position of being willing to build a power plant. That was brought to my attention just a few days ago by Jimmy Northness. He was involved with both the formation of this railroad and the joint development agreement. He asked me, is the JDA still in place? Because I think he's probably right. It probably still is. And that would be one more resource to tap into. What I'm saying is that we didn't get the last Tiger grant. I don't know how many other applications there were before that. It was good to apply and not get them. And we should be making a reasonable request. And if you think that you're going to make a reasonable request by saying, yeah, here's what we're going to do. We're going to spend this money around on 60-ton rail, they're going to laugh you out of the room. Since BHP, I think I can pretty safely say that the average hopper car is 20% larger than what they were running. And in the days of BHP, I believe that the cars were not even being loaded full. They were making a trip over to either the smelter over by Salt Lake, I'm sorry, I don't know the name, or down to Arizona. The trip that's being made now is much longer. Modern railroading runs on much heavier cars than were even used in 2000. I've written a pretty good article about the problems with that, if you're interested in reading it.
Or is there a limit to how much we can request?
I don't believe so. I don't know exactly what the total dollar amount is. I know the last time we went through, there were discussions of significantly larger amounts. It was pared down to this because we thought this was the most realistic expectation. If that's what the council desires to do, look into this in greater detail, whether it's through the
I wish Mark were here. He could answer some of these questions. I'm sorry to be putting you on the
Oh, no
spot.
problem. No problem.
One other thing, though, that concerns me, as a councilman, part of the railroad that I'm most interested in is the historical part. I'm just gonna say from McGill to the mine, that's what I'm concerned with. And I think Mark has his hands full doing that. I think we should, and I know this council has a lot of other work to do besides this railroad. I think it's time to pitch these duties off to an enterprise fund and have them work on the development of the line to the north. I don't even know our current status of our relationship with S&S Shortline. They have a car storage agreement with us, and the city hasn't gotten a dime out of the situation. I am very dismayed by this map that Mark gave us today that makes it look like we're good down to Curry, because we're not, because of the light rail problem. So we've got a big chore to the north that we need to get people on it that know what they're doing. I think it's high time to have a real serious enterprise fund.
No problem.
Can this be decided in the next council meeting, or does that be decided today? I met with Jim Garza, and he had a lot of input about this Tiger grant, and I thought maybe him and Mark could get together and come up with some ideas.
If you want to continue until Mark's back on board, I have no problem with that. And I agree, we want to do it the right way. We want to do it the safe way. I think there's Mark's, and I would have to agree with him, his perception of that end of the track is that it can someday generate revenue, which then will stabilize the tourism aspect. And I think that's probably a reasonable expectation, particularly, and we had Mr. Garza in our meeting today, and Mr. Garza talked about oil exploration in our area. Well, if you're reading this stuff, Butte Valley, these different places, I think there's a high expectation, again, that they're going to find something. Of course, we played in Railroad Valley at a long time. They always think they're going to find it. I think there's a good chance that'll happen. That lends itself perfectly to having that rail there to see why. I think it's a very viable thing. But I agree, Marty. I know it's 60-pound rail. They used it before. Perhaps the cars are good. There may be other factors. If you want to continue it and do that research, all I would say is obviously we need to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned with, is the urgency that's behind this. I think we got to get moving on it.
If you're inclined to make a motion, could I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Under your bylaws as well as your articles, you have the authority to give directions, not just to Mr. Bassett, but also to your management board. And what I'm wondering is if you tailor this to direct the management board to apply for a TAG grant in an appropriate amount to rehabilitate the Nevada Northern Railway, and then read the rest of it reads. That sort of broadens your responsibility, and obviously you don't want to put all this burden on one person's shoulders when it needs to go elsewhere. And then allow them to make the determinations and the suggestions, take those determinations and suggestions. And my concern is the same as his, and that is you don't want to, if there is a timeline, I'm not sure you want to blow the timeline. You don't want to miss the timeline.
Well, that's what I was asking. I was thinking
April 28th.
April 28th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
an enterprise fund meeting to where Mark and Jim Garza and the management board could get together and come up with something.
Well, I think if you throw it into the management board's hand, then that gives them authority to do all of those things, doesn't it? That's sort of what I was saying. That was the only reason for my change, but it sounded like if you got till April 28th, you'd have a real long meeting.
We're going to have to gather that information, find out exactly, what kind of time we need if we're going to replace all that rail. Which I think in the long run would benefit us because, as previously planned, those trains are going to have to move at a very slow rate.
Correct.
If we can get trains moving a lot faster, obviously we could Master, yes.
Probably one of the answers, there's a couple of answers to questions that need to be asked. One is, what are the costs of the grant application? And number two is, if you get NDOT involved, they're gonna get put to 5% again because of their involvement. So 5% of 12 million is a substantial amount of money.
$600,000.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing, is it?
Well, I think we should pitch it to the enterprise fund, have them get after it. They're charged with that duty.
So just why do we need to table this then? I'm looking for what we're gonna do right now.
Is there any reason why the management board couldn't meet with the enterprise fund? Is that part of that motion, or a motion?
It's up to you guys. You can characterize your motion that way.
The-
Management board and enterprise fund need to get together.
The enterprise fund is, unless things have changed somehow, the enterprise fund is made up of 2 councilmen, 2 management board members, and the economic director for the county, which is Jim Garza.
Who's on the enterprise fund for the council?
I believe it's me.
Oh, you?
I'm pretty sure you're the other member, but see.
Oh, me?
Yeah, a meeting hasn't been called since you were elected.
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting since election. It never came around.
Let's have a meeting.
I would endorse Marty's going to the enterprise fund. That's specifically, that was the whole reason for forming that and getting the different name up for the railroad there. That was their charge. And to run it back to the management board or the council, is just an extra step that's unnecessary.
You know, I'll make the motion. I'll make the
Be pretty
motion.
wordy.
Yeah, I know. But I'll talk slow so you can understand.
I'm writing it down in case you.
And Mr. Sears can distill it.
Yeah, he can fix it. I'll make the motion that we direct the enterprise fund to have a meeting before the next council meeting, and then we can talk about it during the enterprise meeting, and then let the next council meeting put this back on the agenda, the next council meeting after the enterprise fund meeting. So we need to schedule an enterprise meeting. Who does that? Oh, okay. That's my motion.
Been moved, do we have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Which comes next to Trustee Hanson. Discussion for possible action, consideration to appoint 3 White Pine Historical Railroad Foundation trustees and identify 5 possible candidates in the community to serve on the ad hoc committee formed to propose changes to the structure of the city's ownership of all Nevada Northern Railway assets, including the relationship of the city of Ely to the White Pine Historical Railroad Foundation. Do you have candidates?
We have candidates.
Would you want to share them?
The discussion with the foundation board was representatives from our foundation would be myself, Randy Larson, and Roger.
Okay, John, Randy.
Now, my understanding was we were going to do a 3-3-3.
That's what I thought.
And our
Right.
reads a little different than this.
Yeah, that does read a little bit differently than what I thought. So.
And I believe our general discussion was that you'd have 2 or 3, we'd have, and the other 3 would be someone that
Appointed by the mayor.
The mayor would
Yeah.
designate, and that we were to submit a list.
Correct.
I think that's something we probably have to kick along pretty well too, as far as, but I guess we need a mayor formally before we do that.
We've got a mayor.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to go about that, Mr. Drew. So we'll gather, those are our 3, and we'll gather a slate of
Yeah.
5 or 6 names that they will submit to the mayor for consideration for the final 3 spots.
So you
No, I have a question. If we've got 3 members from the management board, 3 members from the council, and a group of names those names could be submitted to the new mayor. And once he's chosen those people, that group would be free to set their meetings and meet. That be correct? We wouldn't even do anything to. I know they would, but would there be any kind of action required by the council as a whole? Yeah. So they could.
What you need to do based on this agenda item is pick 3 from your own group to serve. Okay? You've got to pick 3 trustees.
I thought the mayor.
No, mayor's going to pick the other.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Non-governmental.
1, 2, 3.
I can't make a motion.
Actually, I think you probably can.
I can probably?
Yeah,
I
you're
would
just
do-
the board.
I don't want to get in trouble though, so, anyway.
It's just like a corporate board. I don't see a problem. Government board. It's not, the mayor is specifically prohibited on that, I don't think, in your board. I didn't see any rules prohibiting that.
Well, I would make the motion that we appoint Randy and Bruce as our representatives on that group.
I'll second. Can I second?
Yeah. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Appreciate your time and comments. Move forward.
Meeting is adjourned. Back to the mayor.
We'll reopen the city council meeting for item number 5, discussions for possible action, city council as recommended by the Lifetime Historical Railroad Foundation Board of Trustees. Number 1, trustee Setterstrom. Discussion and possible action confirmation of the WPHRF Management Board action on February 12, 2014, approving a promissory note wherein the WPHRF promised to pay Michael Joan Bassett $72,399.22. And that was squashed by the railroad. So what's the...
I'll move to quash this. Oh, you did? Oh, you, I forgot.
Second?
Second.
There's been a motion, a second, any discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Move on to number 2. Management Board Trustee Chairman, John Gianola, discussion for possible action approval of the amended and restated articles of incorporation and bylaws which were approved by the WPHRF Management Board on February 25th, 2014.
I move to quash.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 3. Let's see, discussion for possible action approval of amendment number 2 to the highway agreement. Okay. What's action on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, discussion to direct the executive director to apply for a Tiger grant. What's the motion on that?
Just send it to the enterprise.
Yeah, I would move to the, want to read back, Jennifer?
That's all right.
Okay, don't want to.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, trustee Hanson, the ad hoc committee.
You just do a motion to adopt the recommendation.
Got the recommendation.
Motion made.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Move on to number 6. Action of the City Council as recommended by the City Planning Commission. Number 1, Chairman Flangus, Basin Engineering. Discussion for possible action, approval of parcel map for a portion of lots 3-6, 25, and 6, Block 2, City Gate, Assessor's parcel number 001-295-08 and 001-295-31. The property is owned by Todd and Marine Insurance.
Is Todd here?
He was.
Yeah.
He's in the back.
So who's on the, EJ? You go to the planning
I
commission?
wasn't at the planning
I was
commission.
at that particular one.
Brad was there. Brad was there.
Property, and I didn't see that there was any problem with it. The planning commission recommended it's approved. I support that. Anyone wants to talk to the?
I got one question. I talked to Todd Fincher yesterday or day before, I can't remember what day it was, and he said that he was gonna build a garage on that lot. Do you know about that, Brett? No?
I don't.
He won't be doing that until he combines the two.
Right, when the two get combined. Any idea how big that garage is gonna be?
I have no idea. I mean, there's
You
no.
have to just bring it back if it's difference of variance.
If it's big enough, he's able to go for it.
Is there what's the pleasure of the council?
I move that we approve this.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So that's number 2, Chairman Flangus. Discussion for possible action approval of a home occupation permit to Cody Ferguson to conduct a bread distribution business, doing business as CMT Distribution, located at 1013 Park Avenue, Union Nevada.
This was passed by the planning commission.
I got one question for Cody if he's here.
Where?
I think they were.
I went by your house day before yesterday, looked at the property. Are you gonna be having a big truck?
Be 26-footer.
I was wondering if there's any possible way, I got the letter from Ridley's, I was wondering if there's any possible way to keep the truck at Ridley's
Oh, I'm sure I can.
so that it's not in front of the house.
I'm sure I can.
I would move for approval of this application contingent on that condition.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 3, Commission Members, City Building Official Christensen. Discussion for possible action, consideration to allow Family Dollar Store Incorporated to pave approximately 175 feet of alley behind the proposed Family Dollar Store to be located at 14th and East Austin. Before this starts, I will run this, but I will not discuss or vote because I own property adjoining it and across the street. Brad?
Okay. I think you've all got letters on this. There was also a map that came with it. This is the site plan submitted to the city as well as the state fire marshal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over. Kurt Lund is here, who is representing the dollar store, the contractor, and I'll let him take over with this on the paving portion of it.
Appreciate your time. I'm Kurt Lund. We actually, with the Family Dollar that is proposed, we will actually own the lot and lease back to Family Dollar. We are proposing that we come in and pave that alleyway. This is just the formality of approving it. One of the questions that the planning commission did bring up was utilities. Our surveyor had thought that there was no utilities